And now I'm going to transition to the talk. And the talk this week is set up by a song that I asked Misa to sing. It's about showing our true selves, having the courage and the strength to step forward and to say, literally, the words, "This is me." And while it takes courage to do that sometimes, and Deanne pointed out to me earlier that today is actually National Coming Out Day. And I wrote an article that's in Unity Magazine, the current version of Unity Magazine, which is in the chairs in front, in the back of the pocket of all the chairs of people here in the room. And it's an article about, I came to Unity for healing, and I stayed because I found a place I could be my whole self. Right? I could be a gay man. I could be a minister. I could be a father. I could be imperfect and be loved as perfect, as the true self that I am. And so this song really speaks to that. If you've ever felt like you weren't enough, if you weren't quite right, if you've ever been shunned, "This Is Me" by Misa Malone.
I'm not a stranger to the dark. Hide away, they say. We don't want your broken parts. I've learned to be ashamed of all my scars. Run away, they say. No one will love you as you are, but I won't let them break me down to dust. I know that there's a place for us, for we are glorious. When the sharpest words wanna cut me down, I'm gonna send a flood, I'm gonna drown them out. This is brave, this is bruised, this is who I'm meant to be. This is me. Look out, 'cause here I come. And I'm marching on to the beat I drum. I'm not scared to be seen. I make no apologies. This is me. Another round of books hits my skin. Well, fire away, 'cause today I won't let that shame sink in. We are bursting through the barricades and reaching for the sun. Yes, that's what we become. I won't let them break me down to dust. I know that there's a place for us. When the softest words wanna cut me down, I'm gonna send a flood, I'm gonna drown them out. This is brave, this is bruised, this is who I'm meant to be. This is me. Look out, 'cause here I come. And I'm marching on to the beat I drum. I'm not scared to be seen. I make no apologies. This is me. Oh, 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 oh. And I know that I deserve your love. There's nothing I'm not worthy of. When the sharpest words wanna cut me down, I'm gonna send a flood, I'm gonna drown them out. This is brave, this is proof, this is who I'm meant to be. This is me. Look out, 'cause here I come. Look out, 'cause here I come. Yeah, I'm marching on, I'm marching, marching on. Yeah. This is me. I'm
Misa Malone. Woo! Thank you, Misa. Thank you. It was great to experience that again, to understand that courage, that real intensity it takes to be seen, to be fully seen. And today's talk is called The Power of Vulnerability. And I'm going to get to that, because when we think of vulnerability, we don't think of power instinctively, right? But there's a quote from Brene Brown, and it goes, "Courage starts with showing up and letting yourself be seen." Brene Brown is a researcher who studies shame, who studies fear and separation. And she's done some amazing work. And the first time I read it, listened to her, understood it, sent me on a journey that has changed my life. And I really want to share this part with you, because I think it's a deeper, and what Deanne and I were talking about earlier, a truer understanding of the Unity teachings. It's not to pretend. It's not to fake it until you make it. It's to show up whole and authentic, and somewhere know that that is okay, and more than okay. It's what the world needs. So I want to talk to you about that. In my journey, in this journey of being a public speaker, being a minister, being a truth student, I've done many, many different things along the way. And one of them that I did is I teach public speaking, and I teach it sometimes at Stanford University in the business school. I've taught it in independent workshops all around the globe, and I have taught it in individuals in churches. How to be your authentic self and show up in a talk or in a public speaking situation. And once, I have this little device I do with the students. After they finish their talk, I give them feedback in the form of an adjective, and maybe 2 words, maybe 1. I give them an adjective, and they have to repeat it back to me and say, "Thank you, Ken. I am," and they fill in the word. Right? It's a way of them practicing an affirmation and owning their essence, owning the truth of their talk, so that little critic inside of our heads can just go away for a moment, and we can know who we truly are. So once when I was teaching public speaking and someone got up to give a talk, I said to them, "Wow, Louis, that was wonderful. You are vulnerable." And he looked at me and he said, "No, I'm not." And he listed all the other words he'd rather be called than being called vulnerable. And what's funny about it for me now is, like, I was in the moment trying to figure out how to engage with this. But if I had called him any one of these words, authentic, open, curious, intuitive, compassionate, courageous, intelligent, trusting, creative, innovative, empathetic, loving, he would have gladly repeated any one of those words or a whole slew more that for me represent what is vulnerability. To understand what it is to stand in front of someone naked, unprotected, exposed, and still be your whole true self. That is such a powerful position to be in, such a powerful thing to do, and it's actually what connects us to other human beings. It's not when people pretend to be powerful. It's not when people pretend that it doesn't matter what's going on. It's when we can stand there in truth, in our vulnerability, and know at the same time we're whole. And that comes from understanding that you can't get to where you want to be without going through the fear and the awkwardness and the vulnerability. It's essential for creation. In her work, Brene Brown talks about vulnerability as being the birthplace, literally the birthplace of love, belonging, joy, and empathy. Well, we know, I bet you everyone here in the room and everyone at home has had an experience of knowing vulnerability in love. Right? To be loved means you put yourself out there. And to stay in love, even in romantic love, means more and more every day exposing yourself, opening yourself to another individual. And that takes great vulnerability and risk. And then on the other side of that is belonging, right? It takes vulnerability to really belong, to let people see you, to help you, to support you, to celebrate you. That's how we make community. And this is our year of community. It is created by telling the truth. COVID has been hard. That's not a negativity, that's a truth for many people. This has been a difficult period, and to be able to say that and own it enables us to belong to the reality that is happening in our life. Otherwise, we're denying a fact. And we have had more than enough examples of this year about how denying facts don't work. Period. They don't work. We must, and this is where unity gets into trouble, because we don't think that we can say, well, this is hard, or COVID is possible to catch, because we have been taught that our minds create the disease, and we believe that our minds can overcome it. But that doesn't mean it doesn't exist in the physical world. COVID exists in the physical world. The we're experiencing exist in the physical world. In the absolute, in the spiritual world, all is whole, perfect, and complete and eternal. But guess what, folks? We're here, right now, experiencing now. And the first step to getting out of anything is to acknowledge you're in it. I am in the mix of whatever this is culturally. And I want to lift myself out of it. Joy. Vulnerability is the birthplace of joy, right? You are exposed when you're joyful, dancing like everybody is watching is how I say it. Like you are the center of the universe at that moment because your joy is the attractive thing. When you can be that vulnerable. And just let yourself radiate joy and empathy. Empathy means that you have to be able to feel what the other person is experiencing. So if you deny what the other person is experiencing is invalid, you deny it that, well, don't think that way, don't feel that way, choose something else, there's no way you can actually connect with the person. Now, empathy is different than sympathy. Sympathy is getting down into the ditch with them. Empathy is feeling that their experience is painful for them. And staying in your understanding of what's possible. Right? Vulnerability, that takes extreme vulnerability. You are walking a tightrope. But vulnerability is also the birthplace of innovation and creativity. Think about your work life, right? All of us right now. Think about your work life right now. How many of you have had to innovate something during COVID, right? Right? How many times have you had to recreate what you innovated during COVID, right? How many times have we had to recreate this service and how we do this service and what spiritual community is? Without being able to take a risk and to fail, without being able to worrying about being shot down or thought stupid or less than, you wouldn't come up or present the creative ideas. Without vulnerability, there can be no innovation or creativity. Understand that it's necessary to create a climate where vulnerability is honored and respected, not thought of as something to be avoided and shirked. to create a space in ourselves where we build the muscle of being open, exposed, and fully seen. That's the kind of stuff that changes the world. And there was a woman who sat here in this community, in these chairs, well, not these chairs, we've replaced them since, but she sat in chairs here in this community, who talked about this in a different way, but talked about it. Dr. Maya Angelou was a member of Unity San Francisco, and she learned about New Thought and about New Thought spirituality from here, from this community. And her quote is, "People will forget the things you do, and people will forget the things you say, but people will never forget how you made them feel." And when you can be your authentic self, when you can be whole, complete, vulnerable, naked, exposed, and stand up and say, "This is me. This is who I am. This is what I believe. This is where I am emotionally. This is where I am spiritually. This is where I am physically. This is me." And not have to apologize for it. Not have to make excuses or deflect. That is the strongest and the most powerful spiritual statement you can make. I am created in the image and likeness. We said an affirmation earlier. I am a magnificent expression of the divine. There's a myth that no two snowflakes are alike. Science has proven that's actually not true. There is a number of variations that snowflakes can take, but snowflakes do reproduce. They do have mirror images over and over and over again, actually. But that's not true of you and I. There has never been another Misa Malone. There's never been another Frank or Noel. There's never been another Ryan and Thomas. You are a unique, irreplaceable expression of God. Unique and irreplaceable in this life. And you're showing up exactly as and who you are is a gift to the world, is a gift to others. And when you do, people will never forget it. It is actually the ultimate attractiveness. Think about what's going on in the world right now. The people who posture and pretend, we can tell in an instant. But the people who are authentic and talk about what's going on for them, we want to hear more from. We want to know and we want to experience differently. And I want to close with that. What the world needs, in my opinion, right now, even in my uncertainty as I wrote this, going, "Oh, can I be that brave?" Yes. What the world needs now, more than anything, is people who are committed to being authentic, vulnerable, and humble. They will inherit the kingdom of heaven. They will. They do. They are. Let's take that to our time of meditation.